Hey everybody, we're here for a new RLG cast review. Today we're talking Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever and
Yeah,
Exhibit. We're just gonna jump right into this one. So I'm here
we're
with
about to
Putty.
pimp his ride.
Yeah, we're gonna see what we do. We're not really gonna fix it. Kind of like this movie.
Hmm.
They just refurbished a bad car. So I'm here with Puttyman. His stuff will be in the link below. I'm here with JD Triple Sevs. His stuff will be in the link below, and go check out their stuffs. Okay, jump into the review. We're gonna give you no spoiler review first. Try to keep it short, and then we're gonna have a discussion. So, you know what, Putty? Tell them what happens in this movie.
Okay,
No
so
spoilers.
without spoilers. Um it is a movie that is based on tragedy, both in two families or two nations that are suffering through, a loss. Which is Wakanda and of course the uh I forget what they call them here because they changed it from the book.
They can't
What is
call
it?
them Atlanteans. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still forgetting the name and everything. But of course, Namor, Submariner species, and it's actually it's a way to deal with family tragedy and how someone grows into or someone takes up the mantle, I should say, of Black Panther, and it's about who takes on the mantle and so on and so forth.
All
So
right. Well, we'll go into this. Like I said, we'll do this part quickly, spoiler free. My one of the biggest issues I have with this movie, before we get into like the good stuff, is they so poorly handled the Chadwick Boseman situation. Like
really,
ridiculously. We won't give them spoilers of what happens, but for me, I was like personally embarrassed by Marvel that they did this. Um, it was I don't even know. Like I legit don't even know what to say about it. And by the way, for everyone out there, I watched this movie today for the second time because I was like, what am I missing about this movie that
That
everyone
everybody
else seems to
loves.
be loving? And mind you, I did like it a lot more the second time, but I still have like a lot of issues with it. For me, I'll let you guys talk, but for me, it starts off fine. The first chunk of the movie is fine. Um, the entire middle like hour and a half is complete filler with no story. It doesn't explain anything to you. I felt like I was just sitting there looking at a screen. I think the final act was really good. But even my Riri as a character, Riri Williams, who's Ironheart, was so poorly written, and the
I will
actress who
agree
played
on
her
that. I
was
agree on that.
Yeah.
terrible.
I feel this movie suffered a lot from pacing issues. It was like it had pacing issues.
Yeah, and it didn't tell any story in the middle. It was just
Yeah.
like nothing.
I will agree on the Ironheart thing. That was the one thing I will say that it feels like it was shoehorned. Like this story could have been okay on its own without that. They did not need that. You know what I
Just don't
mean?
make sure you don't give spoilers.
Well, yeah, no,
I'm
I'm
just
not
saying,
going
in
to.
case you're like
Yeah,
going to explain
but
some stuff.
yeah, but my point to the whole thing is this. I think the reason it hit me is because it's one of those things when you put yourself into the movie and it's that dynamic of like loss and everything
But everyone
that
has loss, and I have lots of losses, and I don't
right,
experience that.
but see, I don't know. See, for me, it's different. The thing is, it's more finding, especially when someone, because I don't, again, I've had stuff happen in my life that's really tragic. That if I were to ever meet that person, I want my family would come together and want to just go after them. You know what I mean? And could I actually forgive for what they've
But
done?
that's
I
not what
mean,
happens here.
well, no, I get it. But see, that's what I'm saying though. That's between the bad guy and the good guy. The thing that's different about this is both sides have their reasoning for feeling that way because of that loss. You know what I mean? What happens when you go head on with the other person? They go, "Oh shoot, you're dealing with this as bad as I am," and it's conflicting. And I
So
like that storyline.
I will save my argument against you because I'm not saying I don't think what you're saying is wrong, but I have a combated thing I want to say back to it, but I don't want to give spoilers, so I'll
Yeah,
wait till
that's the
the
problem. I'm
discussion
inching
part
on
for
it
that.
too. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm inching
But
on. Yeah.
JD, general thoughts?
General thoughts. It was too long. They could have cut at least 40 to 50
Ironheart,
minutes out of this movie.
Ironheart. I think we're going to say
Like the
50
whole
together.
Ironheart thing, they're doing an Ironheart series. You could have just left the whole Ironheart thing to the Ironheart series and not bring her
Yeah,
into this
there
movie.
was too many attempted introductions.
Yeah.
I
And
Yeah.
agree.
even
That
the whole
that's
thing, so this is not a spoiler, but even the whole thing between the Julia Louis Dreyfus character and
Martin
uh,
Freeman.
they didn't even need to be in the movie. You could have just completely took them all out of the movie. It was irrelevant to everything that was happening.
Yeah,
that's my issue here. The writing in the middle is so bothered with trying to give you small, tiny, irrelevant universe expansions and doesn't further the actual story of the movie.
Well, and
now all of a sudden they were married too, DeFontaine and
So go, Putty.
Well, I agree on both of these. I think what it is they knew this was the last movie of Phase 4. They had to give like a lot of substance.
But that's the thing. This was the last movie of Phase 4, but it didn't feel epic.
No, I get it, and that's what they were trying to do. This thing, I still love this movie, but it still shouldn't self-contained on its own. I think that's the thing is going in high expectations. It's end of Phase 4. This is going to go out with a bang. It's a story of somber, you know what I mean? And this other stuff to make hyped really did mess it up.
Well, Phase 4 started with a wet fart that was Black Widow.
Hey, I like Black Widow.
It wasn't a bad movie, but it wasn't to the point where it's like...
I'll be fair. I basically like every Marvel movie. Whether or not that translates to my critical rating is completely different. There's only like 3 or 4 projects in the whole MCU that I'll be like, I don't like that. What If being the most glaring. Yeah. But I mean, like...
I'm opposite of the action one.
I enjoyed this movie, but like...
take away those parts, it was a fun action movie.
Yeah,
it was. It had great action.
The second half of this movie picks up a little
climax,
bit.
For sure.
And then the third act is like... The third act is really good. But
the opposite of what Marvel movies have been doing.
I didn't
where the third
feel
falls flat.
It left me with no feeling. That was my issue. I was expecting to come into this. Oh, I did have one moment, but like I said, I'll save this for spoilers. Personally, what I did like, I thought the action was good. I thought the CGI was great. And it's been a while. Marvel movies CGI lately has not been good. I thought that was really good. I thought Namor was excellent. Yeah. The actor, the character, it was spot on. Shuri was great.
Yes.
Vanessa was it Vanessa? No, it's not Vanessa Williams. It's
Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett was amazing.
Yes. She's the best part of these films. Like honestly.
Lupita Nyong'o was great.
Yes.
She should just always be in the MCU because she's such a good actress. It doesn't make any sense why they're not like trying to make her a main character of the MCU.
Even the introduction of Michaela Cole's character, she wasn't that bad a character.
There's a few nice little moves in here. It's just it left itself open in the end. So if anyone doesn't have anything else to say spoiler free, I think we should end spoiler free. Right. So what's your rating on it?
Who's mine or Putty's?
You guys just yell it out.
Katie, you go. I'm interested.
I'm gonna give it. It's to me, it's at about the same level as say Black Adam was, and I'm gonna give it about a 7.1, somewhere around there. It wasn't a bad movie. There's things that could have been cut out, like I said, that would have given it a higher rating, but for me, it was just too long. So about a 7.1.
I'll go next. I was really struggling with it. And in the process of rating this movie, I ended up shuffling around my entire Marvel ranking and ended up going back to all of the reviews I've done on my Instagram and rewriting parts of it because I feel completely different about some of those movies now, including the new Thor. When I rewatched Doctor Strange, I was like, there's no way this Thor was better than Doctor Strange. But I'm going to say 7.1. I'm right in the boat with JD. That makes me feel confident that my rating is pretty legitimate.
Well, then that's so funny because I really thought you guys were going to go dipping low while I was going to go, and you guys thought I was going to go really high. I am going slightly higher, 8.5. Here's my thing.
That's pretty higher.
Well, no, I mean, it's only one more point higher than you guys. You said 7.5, 7, whatever.
7.1.
Well, okay. But anyway, here's my thing. I really enjoyed it. Those little things couldn't have taken out, and I was able to take myself out, take those out for myself because I was so focused on the story because it was the deeper of Chadwick Boseman and Wakanda, and I liked the way they handled that so much that putting that other stuff in there was just like, okay, you're just giving me a little bit of, food to get me through the next phase to the big things that are about to happen. You know what I mean? And I'm glad you did it. So.
Okay, so that's the spoiler free. We're going to go into full spoiler discussion. 3, 2, 1. So I'm going to go for all of you people out there who have seen the movie, don't want to watch the movie. I'm going to reenact the entire legacy of Chadwick Boseman. Enter room, lab. Shuri's looking at DNA things floating in the air. My brother has a disease. Computer, how can I stop it? Mom walks in, looks at her, shakes her head. Computer, is my brother alive? No, he's dead. Okay, bye, Chadwick Boseman. We've now moved on from you. And that was like the opposite of thoughtful. The funeral scene was good.
Yeah.
And I almost shed a tear at the moment when they look at the graffiti picture of him on the wall. I don't know graffiti, but you know what I mean, like
The
wall
art, the mural.
him on the wall. But it was like in a movie where you kept telling me it paid such tribute to the legacy of Chadwick Boseman, you literally spent not even 3 minutes talking about him, and then you never mentioned him again for the rest of the movie.
In all honesty, I agree with that too. I would have cut that complete. Just start the movie with the funeral.
Yeah.
If you started the movie with the funeral, it would have been so much more impactful, and you would have been able to cut out.
And then listen, and then on all the going to the ancestral planes, you didn't even 3D him. I totally would have 3D'd him with like some old dialogue,
like a hologram, yeah,
and put him there. Instead, she sees Killmonger in a completely irrelevant scene to the movie, and then sees her mom to another completely irrelevant scene to the movie.
Okay, yeah, I see what you guys. Here's the thing: the Killmonger thing. When I saw that, I was like,
happy he was there.
Yeah. It was like, oh my god,
that means he can come back.
Well, here's my thing. Seeing it with the audience really gives it a capture, and I think the audience actually helped me with that moment, because I remember seeing in the casting, like, because they showed him in the casting for Michael B. Jordan, and I'm like, is he actually in this as Killmonger? Like, how does that make sense?
Yeah, he's top billed as Killmonger in the movie.
So when I went to the theaters and they got to that scene, they're going through, I was like, wait, is this Killmonger? It was a quick second, but then when they turned the camera, someone in the audience, a girl in the audience, freaked out. Like, she went, oh, and then she started freaking out. Oh my god, like freaking out that it was Killmonger. And I get the appeal as well, being in that audience, seeing how people really love that character too, you know. And so why not bring the polar opposite of who Chadwick Boseman was, with the one that would actually really, you know, you got to think about those two characters in that first movie would really work together. The charisma between those two was perfect, and so bringing that back really brings the whole thing to Shuri, like, oh, it's just chills now. You know what I mean? If you really put it in that perspective, and I feel that's why I kind of understood why I was enjoying that moment with that situation. You know what I mean?
I think they just needed a plot. I think they needed a plot point so Killmonger was there. Get revenge, and that's.
I don't think it was either of those things. I think they just wanted to use Michael B. Jordan because sex sells, and Killmonger was a great character. I don't think that any of this had to do with what Putty's saying, paying tribute to anything from the other movie, and I don't think this was just to force that point, because at the end of the day, neither one of these countries had a reasonable reason
to war,
wanting to do any of this. It was like, if you tell the Americans we're going to kill you, okay, but we don't want to be told what to do, so we're going to fight you too. And I was like, huh? And then Shuri's getting along with him. They went through this thing, they're getting along. And
then all of a sudden, if you're not with me, you're against me.
And then they're best friends at the end.
Well, again, I feel like there's a lot of things, because I feel like there was a whole idea of this movie existing, but Chadwick Boseman still being alive. And of course, then they had to refix things. That's when they started shoehorning the other stuff, like they were fixing patches. And the problem with that is when you bring in the whole American thing and all that kind of stuff, because you remember before it was just introducing Wakanda everywhere. Now we kind of have that happening, and they can still protect those borders. Bringing that element in there, like, oh, we got to bring this in there. Let's go ahead and also shout out Chicago. Make sure, remember, we're in the States. You know what I mean? Like, they wanted to bring you a reminder to where things are.
I have to say what Putty just said. That scene to me was like so bullshit. Like, why did she have to be like, are you going to come with me to specifically Chicago so we can specifically watch a Chicago Bulls game?
I appreciate the shout out. I will admit,
I know, but it felt like I have to make you remember that I'm American.
Yeah, exactly,
and it's like, we already knew that.
I also think the whole DeFontaine thing, she did not need to be there.
None of that whole storyline needed to exist, because all that Martin Freeman's character did was answer phone calls. He didn't help them do anything. And I don't know. I just found it really a lot of really strange moments. I think the positives in this movie outweigh the negatives, but the negatives are so glaring that it's hard to not pay attention to them.
Well, here's my thing. I'm happy this exists, because the thing is, Love and Thunder was the same way. I wanted good stuff that I was just hoping for better, and I feel like we still got better out of this. We've really had some really bad things. Comparing this to something like The Winter Soldier, hands down, you can't compare it.
Not.
Yeah, but that's
can't
my
even
point.
compare this to Black Panther.
Well, no, I agree. That's what I'm saying. But it's hard to do the first time where it was so great. That's what made why you can't even continue the Black Panther the way it is. It's so hard to even want to do that. You know what I mean? Luckily, the Shuri character, just like in the comic books, does take up the mantle of the Black
But the
Panther,
thing is, yes, and Shuri does take up the mantle, but now Letitia Wright is under hot water, is in hot water with Marvel as well, and they may get rid of her too.
Really? I have no idea.
There was, I don't know what it was, but look it up. I don't know the exact thing, but she said something that pissed off a lot of people on set, and they're all pissed off with her now.
Oh no! Wow, we don't need controversy in Disney and Marvel universe now. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It's to me, this situation is kind of like Kevin Conroy. A lot of people can play Batman, but Kevin Conroy is Batman.
Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Chadwick Boseman is my Black Panther. He's everyone's Black Panther, and sure, it was cool seeing Shuri be Black Panther, but you'll never be able to recapture Black Panther. And I think as a piece of media to make money, Black Panther, after now everyone knows what happened in this movie, and like we already knew there was no more Chadwick. But now, after seeing this movie and what happened and the way it played out, I don't think a Black Panther 3 is a moneymaker anymore.
Well, no, here's my thing. The problem is, and you know this as well, especially reading the comics, there's a lot of areas that surround Wakanda and that whole society. So that's the reason why they had to bring in, which again, the whole Atlantis, not being able to do that, like just kind of, you know what I mean? But anyway, my point is it linked that now. So we can now go towards the ocean and go beyond in those areas now. You know what I mean? We have that ability, and that's basically what this did. I agree. I don't think there should be another one because it just feels uncomfortable. It feels kind of dirty, and that's why I feel like this exists the way it does. But the shoehorning was a problem in my eyes. So
yeah, I agree with that. Like you have other characters now in that group. You've introduced the Midnight Angels now. Right, so you can keep going with that. You can keep going with Ironheart now. You have Namor. I think the mantle of Black Panther in the MCU should be retired.
I don't mind a Shuri staying as Black Panther, but I don't think there should be any more Black Panther movies. I think if you want to do Wakanda movies based around all of those factions or those new characters, or you want to make movies about the new stuff, like just what's that guy's name? Winston Duke's character. If you want to do something like that, but I just don't think you should do any more specifically Black Panther movies. If you want to have her in Avengers or whatever, that's fine with me.
See, that's the thing too. This is phase 4, and this was the multiverse saga. And how does this tie in?
It doesn't, and this is what gets weird for me. Both of these countries are so they're so OP. Like, I don't even understand why Wakanda wastes their time having arguments in like those Senate meetings when their country could literally destroy the whole world if they wanted to.
Of course.
And the same thing with the Atlanteans, whatever they're called. But and they're also shown to be extremely primitive, yet they have all of this technology, and it just doesn't add up. Where Wakanda, it doesn't come off as primitive. They're very high technology. They have an entire city and everything. When you went to Atlantis, it's not like it was like the Aquaman version where it was like a legit city. It was like a bunch of caves.
And you literally just said the same thing I said in my review. I understand they're trying to distance themselves because of probably Aquaman. I'm guessing that's why they didn't name it the way they did. But that's a name that's available for everyone. And if you can make it better than what the Aquaman did, then please don't change the name.
The Tolakan Empire.
I'm gonna have to now. That's a new Marvel thing we have to remember. So, but yeah, it's just it's crazy that that they couldn't keep something like that. But I'm gonna say this. Okay, some of the things that bothered me was for example, Namora. I don't like the way that she's introduced into this. Like, is that the actual Namora? And if that is,
that's Namora. Yeah, same thing with Atuma.
Tuna. Yeah,
not a tuna. He's not a fish.
I mean, he could be.
He's a tuna.
But
you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
What are they gonna do with like her now? Like, it doesn't seem like original. Didn't she come later in the story? Like, I'm confused. I mean, I know
why
she does.
Is her name the same as the man? Like, do we call Spider-Woman Spider-Womana? I mean, Spider-Mana? Like, I know it's not a good example because Spider-Woman is the same idea, but like, it's like the same name, Peter Parker and Peter Parker. Like, that's his girlfriend. Like, what? That was a thought. At least change it for this movie and let people know that that's who the character is, but like make her name something different.
Yeah. Either way,
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying, buddy. It makes sense.
It's one of those things now. It's like we gotta hurry now. Like I feel like what now Marvel's doing is like we gotta like speed things up now because we gotta move on to the next thing, and they're gonna burn their wheels because like they want to introduce too many things. So it's like
I
you
agree.
could have just had the name more and then just not
So
characters not introduced them. I
this
felt
is
like okay, hold
yeah,
on.
go
I
ahead.
gotta say one more thing. It felt like Annihilation, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, when they introduced the characters, like the
Yeah,
bad guys. It felt like that. You know what I mean?
exactly. And a big issue is with Marvel, I think, and this was a Star Wars issue and a DC issue, and now it's not. So where Marvel was really crafting movies and building this universe, and now they're like in a state of flux where they're just trying to go, 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 go. We got to get to the next point so we can keep telling our story. Where DC and Star Wars got caught in this thing and they were just churning out garbage, but now they both realize let's just take our time and do
Yeah.
whatever the hell we want to do and stop worrying about what the fans want, and the product is slowly getting better in both of those things. And Marvel is going the opposite way where they're just constantly making the same movie. It's the same movie every time now, and there's too many introductions. Just focus on what's happening. If you centered this entire movie around the loss of Chadwick Boseman and them just grieving and like trying to figure out what they're gonna do, and the world turning against Wakanda because they're all become disgruntled because this happened and they're like lashing out at the outside world, and then Namor's people come along and there's a misunderstanding and he attacks them and then they became friends, kind of what happened. But like if it played out like that, I understand. But the way it happened was just like there was no reason for the conflict.
No.
There was you brushed aside the Chadwick Boseman thing for America problems, and it was just like I don't understand where this movie is trying to, what story it's trying to tell me.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier about pacing issues. You didn't know where it was going.
I mean,
Not
I can
like
see that.
not in a good way. Like sometimes when you don't know where a movie's going, there's a surprise. That's fine. But like this felt like you had no direction.
Yeah, and you didn't need to introduce Riri right now.
No.
She's not even like part of the storyline in any way.
Yeah, you shoehorned her. Like, I mean, you can introduce Riri, but don't introduce Ironheart. You know what I mean? Like, they could have done that.
Yeah,
She could have been the scientist. She could have been the scientist that invented the vibranium finder. That's fine. But the fact that she's already Ironheart is too much. They could have waited till the series.
She was treated like a caricature. So she came in and like I can't think of the words, but I'll vaguely use surfer term to like redo it. So something happens. Riri's there to be like, "Yo, bro, this is gnarly," and you're like, "Okay, we're fantastic. I'm so glad you're here." Like, what's your purpose? You introduce her as being smart through her being a rude, evil person. Like that's your introduction to a character we're supposed to like. Is she just walks up to people and is rude to them?
Well, here's the funny thing. We had Never Sure actually made those outfits for the Midnight Angels. She actually made those outfits. That could have been a way to also put that storyline in there. You know what I mean? You came to help make me these suits for
exactly.
You know what I mean? For them, introduce those characters, but you still introduce this story. Honestly, the whole thing with Riri, I actually did not really learn her name until like probably like 2 months ago or 2 or 3 months ago when they first like when everyone started talking about it, the show itself. You know what I mean? Because I never read the.
I'll be honest. I started at the beginning when her character got introduced, and I read like maybe 10 issues of the comic, and I couldn't get into it.
I never even tried.
It's trying too hard to just be Iron Man, but with a different character.
They're trying to replace Iron Man instead of bringing in actual Ironheart.
Miles Morales brings something different to the story. Riri doesn't really. She's just another version of like Tony Stark, a snarky,
an arrogant, smart scientist. Yeah.
Well, that's my. But either way, my point to the whole thing is I feel like that's happening a lot too in Marvel, and I think it's because they're trying to think as the movies. Like, oh well, we can cast a male character this one, female character in this one, and then we can reset the universe and go back to a male character this one. Like, I feel like that's what's happening here. Am I right or wrong about that? Like, it's just starting to feel like that. And I don't mind it is, but it's like they're doing it in the comics now.
They're going very focused on demographic and not really paying attention to where the story has to grow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're making like bro movies for the bros. That was like kind of like Thor.
Yeah.
And then they're making like Wakanda Forever is like unknowingly trying to speak to just like a female audience because it's basically an all female cast minus M'Baku and Namor.
Yeah.
And it's I feel like they should just keep selling the movies, write the stories, don't change the storylines just to fit you selling tickets.
Yeah.
But that's all they've fully gone Disney now. It's just churn out the same thing.
Well,
Sell tickets.
Well, see, here's the other thing I'm telling now, and here's the thing. I understand why it's hard because I want the universe to expand, especially what I heard. Like, we'll get to it another time, but like how they're expanding possibly on Deadpool 3. I've been hearing that news and everything, and
Sorry, what are they doing with Deadpool?
The whole TNA, the TVA thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson's in it.
Yeah, and so I like that they're doing that. Oh wow, I like that they're doing that and everything. And I guess in my eyes, that might be a good way that they're expanding the universe. But like they're always trying to shoehorn it. Like what made your movie so great was the way you shoehorned it was, hey, here's something end in the credits. You know what I mean? Here's a little.
But they didn't even do that in this one. They just
That's the funny part. That's the funny part. They did in the movie and not actually outside the movie like what we're used to. But I feel like that's what they're actually doing with other movies. Look at it. Look at Multiverse. Like Multiverse of Madness literally was made to bring more stuff in. You know what I mean? And then you have all these other ones that are trying. Like, what's another good example? Shang-Chi. What was
the Ten Rings?
Yeah, exactly. Like you're trying to bring in things. No, that got me sidetracked. Anyway, my point to the whole thing is that they're doing more of we got to bring more stuff in these movies instead of just having the movie itself. Does that make sense? Like it's too much of they're trying to promote the other movies through your movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And not letting it be in the movie.
Yeah, but this time they didn't even do it. Like I said, too, the only mid-credit scene was the fact with what's her name there, and this is mine and T'Challa's son. We named him T'Challa.
Which then Storm popped in my head as soon as I heard that.
No, but it's not Storm. Storm had nothing to do with this.
But that's what made me so mad because that's the first thing that popped in my head when I thought about it. And like,
wait, that doesn't make sense. He's not too far off, but it's kind of like Shang-Chi. I want the next one to be a continuation of his story, not to be a Marvel interconnecting movie that furthers the universe. Do you know what I mean? Use what they used to do. Use the post-credit scene.
Yeah, but Shang-Chi was a decent self-contained movie.
Yeah, it's rare now, right? They're always trying to push some kind of plot. Like Eternals maybe was a little bit kind of enclosed, in its story, but like I don't know. And there's just a lot happening right now. There's a lot of pieces, and before where you could take this movie, and you build something from it, you understand where it's going. At this point, there's so many projects coming out with the shows, and none of them connect together. Like they all feel like you have a bunch of Lego, but you can't build anything out of it.
Well, see, here's my thing though. I think in a lot of ways, and this may sound crazy, I'm saying this, but it kind of connects to the whole thing with Deadpool and the craziness is, and I think that they are basically making it to where it's going to collide. You know what I mean? That's why the whole thing with right by my head right now, Loki, new movie, Kang the Conqueror. The reason that's how everything's going to implode. You know what I mean? That's how we're going to have everything go chaotic. And so I think that there's going to be so many elements that are doing that. Deadpool with the time traveling, Wanda with her going to the multiverses and the original, in multiverse. These are just ways that everything is breaking. And then the quantum realm. I think that's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to explode their own universe to reset it like they do in the freaking comic books. Tell me I'm wrong, but that might be what they're.
I don't think they're going for a reset because you almost had that with the snap. But I do think you're on to something where there's going to be a world-changing moment that's going to divert everything into a new storyline.
Yeah, this way they can recast some people.
I think they have to.
They could do the X-Men because I think that's what's happening. I feel like they even thought themselves. We now have mutants, even though we still have legal battles that might be going out there we have them now. We have them in the universe. We could say it. They've already said it several times. They said it in Miss Marvel. They now said it. Namor himself said it. So I think that's what's happening. Is they're like, we want to go back to what made it great was when the mutants were in this world in the beginning. You know what I mean? And if that happens, I think that's what they eventually want to do.
In all honesty, I don't think anything major. We're going to get a few sprinklings here and there like we've been seeing, but I don't think anything major with the mutants will be happening until at least phase 7, 8, and 9.
I think Deadpool is going to be the catalyst of the mutants.
Oh,
Deadpool 3 is going to be the catalyst.
But isn't that phase 6?
No, that's the end of phase 5, I think.
I think it's the beginning of phase 6.
Is it? Well, either way, that's the way they're going through phases now. Phase 4 ended in like 4 movies and 5 TV shows. So
yeah, but I mean but that's what I'm saying. Mutants, my theory is phase 8, phase 9 is going to be A versus X.
I think so.
I think A versus X is the introduction to them.
Oh,
and it's not going to be the X-Men team that we think. It's going to be the original X-Men team with Angel and Jean Grey and
Cyclops.
Like dumb things like that. But anyways, I don't have anything else. I mean, I think it's definitely a watchable movie. There's more positives, like I said, than negatives. It's just the negative things are so noticeable.
Yeah, they're glaring.
Yeah.
I guess so. It was one of those things. I mean, for me myself, I can be able to ignore it enough to enjoy what the core story was, and it hit me. You know what I mean? I was excited. I pumped myself up, and I think that's what you have to do with this movie. You can't go in with a negative attitude. You've got to go in.
But I didn't. I went in with such high expectations.
I love Black Panther. Black Panther is one of my favorite superhero movies. It's in my top of Marvel movies, and I was so amped up for this movie. And I got in, and when the tribute is what immediately made me upset. And then that's why I watch it a second time, because I'm like, let me go in less cynical and being upset of what I just saw. And I did like it more. I'm telling you right now, if I came in without watching it again today, I would have gave it a 6. I was furious with this movie, like absolutely furious. And on the second watch, I'm like, okay, it was much more enjoyable this time around, which is like happened to me with Thor. I watched Thor the second time, and I was like, why did I like this movie so much the first time? And Doctor Strange. I'm like, how did I think Thor was better than Doctor Strange? Right now, for the movies the superhero movies that came out this year, Doctor Strange is like the best one, and that's why I only gave it a 7.2, and I'm not going to change it.
Did you keep your scores? Because I didn't keep my scores or anything like that, and I'm wondering what I put down for Thor in that as well.
Thor, I don't know. We were all weird. Yeah. I think Doctor Strange is the only one that we were all pretty close on.
Consensus, yeah.
Okay, so I'm wondering, I would have gave Doctor Strange.
You know what, Putty? Go back to RLG Cast and watch the videos.
Right.
Like I have my own stuff, right? Because I have all my lists and
kind of like what I do with our wrestling scores.
Yeah, I have lists because I'm always posting my lists on Instagram. So like for me, it's all kept track of. Gotcha. Outside of the show, where he's keeping track of things because of the show, I keep track of the things on my own because of what I'm doing outside of this.
Yeah.
Right. So you can always go back and look if you want.
It's
time for you to create your letterbox, buddy, and create an entire list of Marvel. All the TV shows are on there, and all the movies are on there.
Yeah,
and you can make a list.
Yeah, we need to make a big tier list for that. Actually, now, wait. Maybe we should set that up for do a whole phase. I guess all the way to phase 4 now. Since we're at phase 4, we're going into phase 5.
Maybe we will.
Who knows?
Maybe that's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, guys, that's it. If you like this video, and like subscribe or whatever. Go check them out and peace out.